We had rather a large storm last night. It started with a light show. Beautiful. I love lightning storms. Last summer I started photographing lightning, and so far this year I had not. But this storm was lighting up the sky every 3 or 4 seconds. The problem was, this was about 11 o'clock at night. As I settled into bed, worried about the things I had to do the following morning, the flash and rumble kept at it. Lighting up the windows, brilliant flashes of lightning from every direction. Then, the phone buzzed, and I saw this lovely alert. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect for this area until 11 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time for destructive baseball-sized hail. Baseball-sized hail. Take shelter in a sturdy building away from windows. People and animals outdoors will be severely injured. For your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of the building. This is a dangerous storm. Prepare immediately for large, destructive hail. Yeah, that woke me up. So at this point, as we're staring at our phones, my dear sweet girlfriend asked, maybe you should get the camera. I thought, I'm cozy here under the covers. The lightning photos can be amazing. And if baseball-sized hail starts smashing the windows, I might want to get that on film. So I got out of bed to get the camera. I grabbed it, checked the battery, changed the lens, set the tripod up in the bathtub. Oh yeah, I set the camera up in the bathtub. Why? Because the windows in the bathroom are the only windows in the entire house that have a usable view of the sky. I know, I live in a shit location. And as I'm setting up this camera, I'm trying really hard to remember how to set it up for capturing lightning. I'd experimented with lightning photography last year, and by the end of the year, I had the camera pretty well dialed in, though I didn't get to film many good storms by the time I'd figured it out. But in the middle of the night, standing naked in my bathtub, oh yeah, I was naked this whole time. I just hadn't expected to be out of bed long enough to bother getting dressed. Don't judge me. We both know you've done some weird shit in the privacy of your own home. That's the best place to do weird shit. So, standing naked in the bathtub, I couldn't quite remember the settings, and as I'm doing all this, I forgot to focus the camera on the horizon before firing off the first set of photos. So let's just say the first 100 photos did not turn out. Oh yeah, that's another thing. To photograph lightning, I set up the camera to take long exposure shots on a timer. Much more likely to catch lightning that way. So with the camera clicking away and flashes of lightning filling the sky, I realized I was cold, so I grabbed a robe. Yes, I finally got dressed. No need to picture that. The light show lit up the sky, dazzling bolts of lightning jumping from cloud to cloud, searing bolts occasionally hammering the ground, boom, boom, boom. It was so cool. At this point, the supercell was still a few miles away, giving us a good show without any real danger. I checked the camera, realized I'd biffed the first set, so I reframed the shot, adjusted the settings, remembered to focus this time, and fired off the next round. This time, when I stepped out of the bathtub, snug in a warm, fluffy robe, I tripped over a terrified dog. Oh yeah, the thunder was booming at this point. Constant rumble, punctuated by loud crashes. Poor little Clipsy Boo does not like those sort of sounds at all. She was trying to get as close to me as possible. And stepping out of the tub in total darkness, I did not see her until it was too late. I fell and cracked my head on the cabinets, or the side of the sink, and blood went everywhere. No, it didn't. And I'm sorry, but I'm very disappointed with you. I tell you about a tragic fall in the middle of the night, and you want some juicy, titillating description of a gruesome accident. Honestly, sometimes you people disgust me. But no, I didn't crack my head open. Whether it was my luck or my cat-like agility, probably my cat-like agility, I managed to avoid both squishing the dog and cracking my skull open. But for the rest of the night, she followed me around like a little shadow, constantly underfoot, and this was far from the last time I tripped over her. Poor thing. It was about this time that the hail started. That warning about baseball-sized hail? Yeah, that was prominent in my mind at this point. Luckily, we have a garage and both cars were inside, but baseball-sized hail, I was worried about the roof and the windows. It was about this time the storm swung in, first with fat drops of rain, then with a growing patter of hail. It starts with gravel-sized hail, no little pea-sized play pebbles for us, and steadily gets bigger with louder and louder thumps on the roof. I think this is when my camera was putting in the real work and getting the best lightning shots of the night. Rain had not yet covered the windows, and the clouds were still high enough that there was a clear view of lightning arcing across the sky. And soon enough, the roof started shaking. Big hail was hitting us. I stared out the window, wondering when I'd start to see broken tiles sliding down from the peak of the roof, and was already dreading the call of the insurance company in the morning. Luckily, it did not come to that. The shaking became an uneven patter of heavy thumps amid the steady drum of the smaller hailstones. The yard was covered in leaves and branches that had been ripped from the trees. In the darkness, it was hard to tell if those large round shapes on the ground were huge hailstones or just leaves that had fallen. The next several minutes were nerve-wracking. It got louder, then it got quieter, then it got louder again, and I kept worrying about those baseball-sized hailstones. There was nothing I could do about it, so I enjoyed the show. Checked on the camera every now and then, and kept on filming. When the bigger thumps subsided, I grabbed a hat, and then thought again about baseball-sized hail. Severe injury. Eek. So I grabbed 2 more hats and made a well-padded 3-layered protective rig for my head. Then I bravely ventured outside in my robe, my slip-on shoes, and my 3 hats, and I collected several large hailstones from the grass. They weren't as big as they sounded hitting the roof, the largest being about the size of shooter marbles. I think that's why they didn't do that much damage, luckily. And that was most of the adventure. I stayed up for another hour. I tend to obsess about these things and could easily have stayed up hours longer fiddling with the cameras, trying to get the perfect photo, but it was late, I was tired, and I had to work the next day. So, but I'd say it was a pretty good night. Even though it was unplanned and I could barely remember how to do it, I captured all these lightning photos, and that's more than I got all last summer. And I think the slow motion videos came out. I really wish I thought to do that earlier when the lightning was closer and the bolts were crossing the entire sky, but I can try that next time the storm rolls through. So that was the night hell came to Murphy Creek. And luckily, it didn't turn out as bad as I'd feared.